Hello, and welcome to this yuck
Wow.
edition of the Purple Journal podcast. I had to clean up.
Joe's brain went on bye week there for a moment. Jeez.
Yeah, I filtered through like 15 obscenities and ended up with a yuck. This is the Purple Journal podcast. We technically were off last week, but we did record a version of the show on Friday morning, so if you heard that, get ready for some retreaded points. I'm kidding.
Had to get him on there. We missed Luke. We can't go a week without hearing from Luke. What the hell?
We love
You
we love
probably
Luke.
could though. That's probably like okay.
Yeah, especially after
Well, he was at the game, so we had to hear from him. He had to.
you know.
He was our special correspondent at the Rams-Vikings game.
What is your
game.
Yeah, objectively entertaining, personally rife with tons of pain, I guess. What is your record at games now, Luke? In the last since we've done this show.
In the Zimmer era,
Okay.
I can't possibly remember all the games.
Wow.
I've been going to games since I was a kid. My dad always had season tickets.
Yeah, we were more looking for this year, but go ahead and go with the Zimmer.
This year I'm 0-1-1, but Zimmer era I'm 3-1-1. No, 4-1-1.
Wow.
I went to a garbage game in his first year, like one of the last games of 2014. It didn't matter. I went to one of the 5-0 start games in 2016. I went to like one of the hot start games, and then I went to both Saints games in 2017.
You are 0-1-1 for this year. Stay home.
Yeah, I'm not going anymore.
I don't know if Luke's...
I'm out of vacation days.
Really quickly, I'll introduce everybody. I'm Joe Johnson. I own Purple PTSD Vikings Territory. Joe Oberly writes for those sites and also writes for the Sports Post, and Luke writes for those sites and is also on the Pocket Protectors podcast on the Climbing the Pocket Network. And I forget the name of one of the guys from the Climbing the Pocket Network. Tyler told me last night. Regular Randy, something like that.
Oh, Realistic Randy over
Realistic
there? Yeah.
Randy. And there's
Nice.
two videos
Yeah,
on
he has
YouTube.
opinions, I'll tell you that.
If you type in Zimmer on the hot seat on YouTube, it's just me and him, and then a bunch of just random like music videos for some reason. And
He's entertaining though. You should check him out, even if you don't agree, which I frequently don't.
yeah, he was. I think I might have found my soulmate watching him talk about Zimmer. And also the reason why I don't do post-game shows, because he was fired up, and mine was more... My response on the solo show on Tuesday was more, I'm afraid for my life, based on the emails that I received. But we'll kind of just jump right into, I guess, that first. Touch on the Rams a little bit. It's, there's no game on Sunday. It's kind of old news, but what else? What do you want from us? We're human beings. So I wrote a piece that I thought wasn't that controversial, to be honest. I watched a lot of internal stuff, listened to some of the shows that we have on the Purple Territory, quote-unquote radio network. I watched the ATL guys after the Rams game, and the reason that I titled it Zimmer's seat is starting to warm, and then I think I changed it because that just doesn't sound right.
You just farted or something? Or?
Well, that, and he probably, as far as the defense is going, shit the
You
bed.
describe the Rams game as a fart.
Yeah, or a
Bill's game was something much worse, I guess. Than
It was like a wet one.
we should have a scale of farts that equate to how good the team is
Like you
doing.
thought it'd be fine, and then it turned out to really not be fine.
and the tie was... What was the tie? No. One of you guys' parents are listening, I know.
That's true, or both of our parents are listening. I just saw a lot of people saying Zimmer's been exposed. Is this defense exposed? I don't have a lot of faith in him fixing it. I kind of felt the same way. I think, people, one of the hazards of writing articles is that people latch on to headlines and they don't really read the 2,000 word minutia. I wasn't saying that they should fire him right now, or even that he will end up getting fired. My point was that if the team ends up at like what me and Joe have been going back and forth, 7-8-1 or 9-6-1, does that mean they would make a move? Then I saw Charlie Walters say the team could switch to DiFilippo if that's the case, because it's there's a youth movement, and his piece was a lot more maybe that will happen than mine was. But so really it was just saying if the team sucks, will they move on? I think so, because the team has invested a lot of money in this Super Bowl or bust situation, and how can you really bring back Zimmer if the defense can't get fixed? Do you give him more first-round picks? Every player on that defense, for the most part, has Zimmer's fingerprints on it. If you can't fix it or motivate those guys, it doesn't seem like that huge of a leap to say that he would be on the hot seat at the end of the season. But I guess after waking up to 30 emails with my forward to Joe Johnson, I don't even know how they got that email address, but I'm impressed, that struck a chord with a lot of people. So I wanted your guys' take just on not so much the article, but the state of the defense, what you think is wrong with it, what that means for the team. If you want to start,
I don't get to say you're nuts.
I tried to get right. I tried to go right past that, but yeah, go for it. I mean,
I like I told you offline. Zimmer requires some. He's got hand in this, or he's got culpability, for the way they're playing. But he built the defense, and he built the defense into a number one unit last year, and he's been getting stronger every year. I don't think they suddenly fall off the table because Zimmer's, you focused on that point saying that he goes, I don't know what's going on. I think that's just a throwaway line from him to the media. He's not going to tell anybody what he's going to do or what's going wrong or whatever. He can either launch into a tirade and start throwing people under the bus if you really see somebody that's playing poorly, or else, it's not that as not to keep the media at bay. So I think he's definitely the guy to fix it. I mean, he's got, if they've figured out, I don't know if this is the case, that they figured out how to beat how his defense is operating, then he's got to go back and change some things. That's really hard to do mid-season. So,
I will real quickly. Joe referenced. I did a show yesterday. Joe was traveling, and so I was going to do a show with someone else. That person canceled, so I ended up doing the show by myself. And I mostly talked about the article because I just had seen the response to it. And I mentioned something that I had seen, which was someone asked Zimmer what was it. The headline was Zimmer concerned with pass defense, and his response was, I don't know what's wrong with it. And I latched onto that. I will say that I do think that I think the team is probably, I don't have a lot of faith in them turning it around. So I personally think that's what's going to end up happening. But I also said that I would love to be wrong, and I could end up deleting this article in a month and a half. But that's what Joe was referencing, was me saying that on the show yesterday.
I want to address a narrative that I've seen.
My point by saying that I think he will be able to turn it around, and I mean, he's the guy. They're not gonna get rid of him. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, I want to address the whole exposed point, because I hear that all the time.
Yeah,
and it's a weird way to characterize it, because there isn't Zimmer doesn't have a scheme. That's not how his defense works. It's like a series of rules and adjustments, which makes it's very sophisticated. It makes it so every play, one player, because of the way the offense lines up and what the offense does, one player will play a man concept, one player will play his own concept, and it's like this Frankensteining together of multiple concepts and schemes that makes it so every player's in the perfect position. That's what kind of the general idea is, and what's made it work over all these years. And what I think happened, and there's something that Zimmer said, and I don't know, Overly, maybe you can speak to what that was in his presser in person, but when he said maybe I'm overcoaching them, I actually think that, to me, that's really encouraging that he said that, because I think that's exactly what happened, and diagnosing that is good, right? I think he, in response to kind of the Saints and Eagles both being able to figure out ways to essentially guarantee that the Vikings players made the wrong decision on defense, and then got and blew coverages, and that's how 38-7 happened, right? And I think he like made more rules, and it's already really complicated. Like if I'm the slot corner, I need to look at, okay, there's two receivers on the boundary side and the tight ends on the field side, and there's a running back, and he's in, the I formation, or if the quarterback's in shotgun and the running back's on the field side, then I have to do this and play 7 yards off. It's like crazy complicated, and he made it more complicated, and now players are screwing up, right? Like Ben Gedeon is like attacking the flat zone at the same time as Eric Kendricks, and that caused a huge play to the fullback in the 49ers game. That same kind of problem caused a big play in the Bills game. So, like, I don't think anything got, like, exposed because there's nothing to expose. Every play is a different scheme. It's not like...
Well, I didn't use that word exposed, and I guess I'm not saying they figured them out, and they figured out ways to exploit what they're doing, because they had so many, there's been so many mismatches with the linebackers going on in the past couple of weeks, and there's been, people out of position. But yeah, it does make more sense when he says I'm overcoaching him. I think that's where the team kind of rebelled against him against Green Bay a number of years back when they had their mini mutiny and said, we're going to do it this way. They might have got tired of Zimmer overcoaching them then, and that's why they kind of, remember the secondary went their own way a little bit.
Yep.
I think actually that was a similar problem where like Terrence Newman did the wrong thing because he like misread the play and then like said something weird in the media and everyone latched onto it. I remember that. I remember him going back and being like, "Wait, what? No, we didn't like defy him on purpose. We messed up."
Yeah, there was something with Xavier Rhodes too, because I remember people, readers saying we should cut Xavier Rhodes, and I was making fun of that on the show.
That was amazing.
Like, really?
Yeah, that after they had time to get their story straight too.
And
yeah, I don't think you can fire Zimmer right now because you kind of the way that like contracts are structured.
You mean right now or at the end of the season?
Both.
Right after this show.
Yeah.
I'll call him.
I mean, it'd be insane right now. It's week 5, but
no, of course, and that's again. I didn't mean that, but I did mean the end of the season. It could happen, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, if they have like 4 wins, maybe you talk about it, but I don't think we're that bad.
You were perfectly legit throwing it out there, and I am not, like I said, I don't have a big problem with what you did. You should have expected the response you got because that's the way some people feel about it. I just think that I've got more faith in him as someone who is a grinder, who is I'm not going to say he's a defensive whisperer, but he's been a defensive coordinator for how many years? He knows what he's doing back there. He knows how teams play him, and then how he adjusts back at them. I mean, he's been in the game for how long? I think he's got to figure out something else, and I think he has the ability, and that he will. That's what I'm
one of the advantages of this kind of like set of rules and adjustments type. It's not really a scheme, but like that plan is that it's really, really flexible. So you can probably figure out what things are confusing the players and then like stop asking them to do that, and it'll help. But I think like the way contracts are structured on this roster, everybody's locked up for 3 years or more, right? Kirk Cousins in for 3 years. Everybody's locked up kind of through 2020, and then things, then players kind of start to peel off.
That's
so
a good point.
And if you fire Zimmer right now or at the end of this season, no rookie head coach is going to win the Super Bowl, right? That's not going to happen. So you basically
didn't Doug Peterson do that though?
Ooh, I think he did.
Whole offense and Kirk Cousins and all the stuff that they have done, you're basically giving up on it and saying, okay, we'll maybe try to win in 2020, but now you're kind of taking 1 year and then go.
Here's the logic behind that,
a la 2009. So I think that would put you in a bad situation, and much worse than if you just kept Zimmer and let him try to figure it out. You've got 3 years. This is a 48-game experiment. We're 4 games into it.
Yeah. Well, I felt like maybe the ownership would be a little, upset about the money that they put into it, and to say, okay, maybe Zimmer's reached his peak. Let's look at the to kick it over to what Walter said. He said, does the team let someone like DeFilippo go, who's like this hot young coach, or do they stick with the guy who might have hit his plateau? I think that was his reasoning.
Is he so good? Are we worried about him getting a head coaching job right now? Is he good?
You also made the point, Joe, that and this makes sense for some places. They say you can't fire all the players, especially since they're all under contract. So you change up the coach just to change things up. But I don't know if that were to that point yet, you know. So.
No, yeah, definitely. And I do something too that we've talked a lot about scheme versus execution, and it's like, here's my fear, and I'm not the greatest X's and O's guys out there, so I don't think anyone's gonna rewind this take, but when you have last year they talked a lot about the defense being like, we all trust each other, everybody does their job, so I don't have to overcompensate, because I know the guy next to me is going to do his job, so I don't have to worry about him blowing it and then covering his ass. And I feel like, Anthony Barr has been a big scapegoat on the defense for a lot of people. When you have like maybe him and Mackenzie Alexander, or just guys in general not playing like they used to, or maybe blowing assignments, how does that, from an execution standpoint, hurt the defense, and how do you fix that? I mean, what do they do? Whether or not that is Zimmer's fault.
You gotta simplify it. You have to simplify it and make it so that it's a like not more than the defensive players can shoot, you know?
Yeah,
and I hope that's what they do, but that's what causes, I think we've given up the third most explosive plays of any defense. Like, that's how we're getting killed, is by these blown coverages and explosive plays that we give up. The Barr touchdowns on Thursday were like not really his fault. Like, he got toasted by a wide receiver a couple times. Like, he'll never keep up. He's slower than Laquan Treadwell. Like, it's bad. He's a linebacker. He shouldn't be on wide receivers. But yeah,
is that a scheme thing then? Like, I wondered about that, and like I latched onto the announcer saying like, oh, Zimmer's going to make all these adjustments at halftime, and then like there weren't any. I mean, there may have been, but they weren't successful.
Yeah, I think they only scored 10 in the second half, and like the Vikings were able to claw back into the game. The halftime adjustments have been good. They've just been so far behind by the time halftime comes around that it hasn't mattered.
So do you think, I remember what you said after the Eagles game, and I latched onto that because I thought it made the most sense, and I haven't heard from writers a consistent what happened in the Eagles game, like with players seeming like Harrison Smith looking like he was out of position, and you said what you just said today, which was maybe Zimmer over-schemed against Peterson, and the players just couldn't take in that new... The scheme was different enough to where they were like, what is going on? I
still think Peterson in that game, in that whole playoffs, was doing something the league as a whole had never seen before, and that's why he was able to put up like 41 on Bill Belichick too.
Yeah, so, I mean, is that continued since then, do you think? That Zimmer's just trying, like you said, overcoaching them, I guess? Obviously,
I think he did it in response to that, because I think he saw like what Doug Peterson had done, which was basically taking all the pre-snap chess game and moving it post-snap, is like this genius innovation that had never been seen before, and then I think Zimmer added a whole bunch of rules to try to compensate for that, and it ended up just confusing the hell out of the players, and now they're messing up all the time.
Yeah, because they had some bad looks and bad, they were out of position in that game big time. I still remember Terrence Newman woefully beat in the slot for a long touchdown, and looking like, well, he was old, but looking like he was confused. And if you're confusing him, you're probably confusing the rest of the defense.
Yeah, you're forcing them. I mean, they made the right choices as they're taught to make them. And what Doug Peterson did was make the right choices the wrong choice. You know.
Right.
Was that statistically based, or did that just help?
I'm sure. I think it's X's and O's genius. I still believe Doug Peterson is like a league-leading genius.
Because the consensus out there with the exposed thing, and to reiterate, that was something a lot of other people were saying, and I said, I never really get too upset about my takes being right or wrong, to be honest.
Yeah, you were thanking everybody online. Just go.
The only thing logically that bothers me is to have people who said Zimmer's been exposed, he's done, tell me personally that take was wrong. Then I'm saying, well, if you think he's been exposed and he can't fix it, why would the team keep him? That doesn't make sense to me. But my fear was like teams have looked at what the Eagles did, and I've heard like the announcers on TV say, well, if you pass on first and second down, you can beat the Vikings because that's just a scheme thing.
Yeah, passed on first and second down. You could beat anybody if you do that.
And if you score score more points than the Vikings, you'll beat them.
Yeah, dude, that's some John Madden crap. Holy Moses!
Danny Green said that once. How do you beat the team this week? He says, well, if we get more touchdowns than they do.
Ring of Honor.
Actually, legend. I love it.
But are you saying that it isn't like there's some sort of playbook for a team, like a good team, to beat the Vikings, that maybe McVay looked back at what Peterson did and said, hey, we can do that too, and then when it applies to maybe later in the year, we should be worried about it? I'm trying to figure out where to...
McVay and Peterson. I mean, those guys are geniuses. You need to be like that. I don't think Joe Philbin is going to get this figured out. I don't think Matt Nagy is smart enough. I think you have to be like Doug Peterson and Sean McVay are top of the league, and they can figure it out. And you also need talent. You need to pull off what they pull off. You need a lot of time in the pocket. So you need an offensive line that's really good. Not everybody has that. You need a quarterback that's surveying the field very quickly. Not everybody has that.
So then we should expect, since we're playing Doug Peterson this week, to kick the ever-loving crap out of the Vikings defense.
I'm worried.
It's going to be bad.
I'm asking that just because I'm trying to set my expectations. Like, am I covering a team now that just doesn't have a shot to win the Super Bowl like we thought they might in the offseason? You know what I mean? Like, for people to say, like, well, they're good teams. I heard that a lot. The Rams are the best team in football. And I'm like, well, I thought we were the best team in football. Like, that's my, like, toddler reaction to it. Like, I'm not ready yet to admit that the dream is over, so I'm angry about it.
I don't think the dream is over. It's October.
So you think they can fix it and beat the Rams maybe later, having the tape?
Yes. I think
that's good.
Any playoff rematch is kind of being a rematch is somewhat of an equalizer. Like if you've played them before in the season and you have that tape, like that's a bit of an equalizer because a lot of the secrets are kind of out. But like, no, I'm not going to like sit here and predict playoff games in October. Like they can figure it out and they can go in. If they do figure it out and make the playoffs, they can go into the playoffs a much different team than they are now. The team that they are now is drafting top 15, but they can change that if they're smarter on Sundays.
Yeah. That Bills game, I mean, we didn't have a chance to talk about it on this show, but I think that Bills game really sucked. And it kind of, coming back against the Packers, if they had beaten the Bills, come back to beat them, and then lost to the Rams the way that they did, I don't think there would be as much out there as there is. And it's hard to, looking at the Bills game, say that, there was a really deep hole dug. And that was
especially since the Bills went out and got shut out against the Packers the following week. So.
Yeah, I was hoping that maybe the Bills had found something and they weren't as bad as people were saying. But a large part of that,
they weren't beating anybody that day.
They found Doug Peterson's playbook. No, I'm kidding. No,
the Vikings might have lost to Alabama that day. They just weren't beating anybody.
Yeah, they're in a funk. I think. You look, the offense played well against the Rams. Obviously, the hole that was dug against the Bills was something that we talked about with Kirk Cousins. Luke brought that up.
Vikings have a really good quarterback.
Do they?
I said they do. They do.
I think he's. I always look at the negatives though.
Reasons to be optimistic because Zimmer will figure something out. He might not figure out against coaches like Luke just described, but they're going to play better defense. The players have pride, and this quarterback is good. Give him a little time, and he finds these receivers. He's got very good receivers behind him. The problems I see is a confused defense and an offensive line that is still can't block for the run, and that's a problem. But it's not going to be a problem every week. I mean, if you put up what did they put up last week against the Rams, for crying out loud?
Put up like 500 yards of offense. Yeah, offense
31 points. And that's one of the supposed better defenses in the league. So it's not anywhere near over for me at this point. If you come out and you play like you did against the Bills again, then you have morale issues or something, or you have some major issues. But they're gonna muster everything they got against the Philadelphia this week and play them tough, and hopefully they're schemed to figure out what's coming their way with DiFilippo in the offensive.
That's true.
Room. So I don't think it's time to.
Well, Luke had a
super
piece.
Excited. I'm super excited to see what Zimmer comes up with for Doug Peterson this time having the whole offseason to dissect it. I know he and like DiFilippo sat down and were like, okay, what did you do against us?
He's got 10 days.
I'm super excited to see what he comes up with.
Yeah, he's got 10 days between games. Well, you could go online and look at my preview piece, Joe, and see what I predicted. See where I'm.
Luke did write about moving Remmers back to tackle, which I think is makes me happy. I never really liked that move, to be honest. I wasn't really sure.
No, it was obviously stupid.
Yeah, you bring
Your
him in.
instincts are correct.
You bring him in for a reason, and the move just seemed to be like maybe a Band-Aid over a shotgun wound, but you're still worse than you would have been otherwise. But I'll let you explain it a little bit and how it.
Yeah. So moving from tackle to guard generally is like really hard, and a lot of the article just covers like why it's hard, because I think that gets said all the time. Oh, changing positions, it's a learning curve, but we don't often talk about like why. So like as a tackle, if you think about it, you're going up against like edge rushers, and they're usually trying to get past you. They're trying to get around you, spin you, swim you, just be faster than you. So a lot of what you have to do is like taking big long steps and strides and shuffling quickly around the field to like try to stay in front of them. Defensive tackles, when you're on the interior and you're going up against Aaron Donald, they're trying to get through you. So the footwork and the technique is more about like getting quickly set, after the snap, getting very quickly to a spot where you have a lot of leverage, and then exploding out of that leverage and like having a lot of power. So it's a totally different technique. And the difficulties of doing that are like not lost on Mike Remmers, and it's something that we've done a lot. It's very clear the Vikings don't think that moving offensive line positions like has much of a cost, and I think they're really wrong about that, because they moved Brandon Fusco and that ruined him. They moved, this is before Zimmer, but they moved Charlie Johnson and that ruined him.
Clemmings played every position and got ruined forever.
And it turns out he shouldn't be playing football and should have been a power forward. I can't believe he's playing for the Raiders. Okay, sorry. But yeah, so and it's like very clear that like in the 20 games of Mike Remmers' career that he has played at positions other than right tackle, he's been like markedly worse than he is at right tackle. It's like so clear. There's a mountain of evidence that tells us that he should just play right tackle, and he's pretty good at it. He's like an average to maybe even a little better than average right tackle, and he's a not very good right guard. And I think like the average Tom Compton game or Brett Jones game at right guard is better than the average Mike Remmers game at right guard based on their careers to date. That's
no
what
brainer.
the data tells us.
I know.
So like do that.
It should be. So,
It's not hard. Do it.
Is there any hope that they will?
No, they've been very adamant about not doing it. But it's stupid. And it's one of the stupidest things that they're doing. Like, I think they should blitz more, but I get if they don't think that the quarterback, if they think the quarterback can beat blitzes and they don't blitz him, I get it. I think they should do it more, but I get it. This, I don't get it at all. You're having a guy play out of position and he's cratering. Move him.
Yeah, because it's like
hubris and do it.
The blitz thing is like there's a positive to it because they're scheming against the quarterback. This just doesn't seem to have any positive to it.
Yeah, like they've been getting pressure with 4 a lot too, so like you get it. But it makes no sense. There's no advantage to it, and everything that we can look at from their play tells us, hey, this is a bad move and is wrong, and they just won't admit it.
I've seen a lot of people.
Which is weird because they've been like willing to like cut draft picks and admit their mistakes before. They cut Daniel Carlson, but for some reason they like will not budge on this.
Yeah, Friday morning, before we all three did the Morning Joe show, I heard a lot of people blaming Kirk Cousins for the loss. He's had fumbles, and that's a problem. His pocket presence is everything that Luke said it was in the offseason. But I think I saw a stat that he's being pressured on 48% of his dropbacks or something crazy. Something not good.
Yeah.
46 or 48.
He actually was pressured like 32% in the first 2 games, and we were all going, oh, hey, the pass protection's been pretty good, and then they just fell apart.
You should go and check out. Saying it again, that my preview, but I was out at Winter Park. Oh my God!
You'll get this.
Wow. Longing for the days of yore.
Yeah. I was out at Vikings locker room today, wherever the heck is located. Anyway, and he was asked about the fumbling, and he was clearly prepared for the answer because he went off on a, not in a bad way, but a very reasoned way. He responded to a couple questions on it, and It was great. I mean, he explained it in a way that I thought made perfect sense, to what's going on. I mean, he talked about having, the first thing that you're always taught is cover the ball with two hands, or protect it with two hands when you're going to the puck, blah, blah, blah. And he said, he also brought up the fact that you're still a quarterback and you have to make plays, and so you got to keep your eyes downfield. And, so it's not all cut and dried. It's not just one person that causes a fumble. Like, he wasn't blaming anybody or anything, but read his explanation. I thought it was really clear-headed, and said, yes, the fumbles are his, but,
he's also thrown for over 100 times in the past 2 games.
Right.
With that much pressure.
And he's made some of those plays under pressure. I mean, there was one of those touch passes in the end zone we saw in one of the past few games. He got drilled just as it left his hand. It's like, and it's still just
the Thielen one.
Small window. It's like amazing. So I'm not gonna beat him up too much on the fumbles. If it continues, well, then maybe I'll get out my pitchfork and torches, but not that.
Yeah, ball security was always a thing for him. He's like one of the most fumble-prone quarterbacks in the league. But he more than made up for it by making like 8 amazing plays in all those games. Like, the Bills game was weird because like by the time he was making plays, it was like well out of hand. But it was also like, I don't know. Bills game, I think, is a pretty safe to label as an outlier. Like,
right. Words I was just going to use.
Didn't have a line in Washington either blocking very well for him. So it's it's not all on him. There's more of the same here. If he's pressured that much and he's still trying to make plays under that pressure, you got to count that and take that into consideration. I just go and read what he said. It's worthwhile because I thought it's a legitimate response. And he wasn't pissed, he wasn't bitter, and he wasn't defensive either. He's just explaining this is how it works. So
God, because they do. I mean, when they're moving with those receivers, Treadwell actually he had a drop, but he made some plays. Aldrick Robinson looks like a goat, like a Jarius Wright type guy that might get his number called once or twice a game, but he came through. I think he had, it's the one thing on offense, and I wonder if they touched on this week, Joe, that you heard out at TCO. Did they say anything about establishing a run game in Philadelphia, or what's going on there, or if not, maybe limiting Cousins so he doesn't have 1.2 million pass attempts this season?
Oh yeah, I mean they would definitely love to, but this is not the week for that to happen. I mean the Vikings got the worst rushing offense in the league, and the Eagles have the best rushing defense. They give up 63 yards a game thus far this year, and
they're giving up 16 inches before contact.
Yuck. Speaking of yuck.
Shout out to Ben Solak. There are some Eagles people that I followed leading up to the NFC Championship last year that I didn't know existed before then that have been excellent follows. There's some people on Eagles Twitter that are giving some really cool
16 inches? That's like instantaneous bad news.
Like a half yard, yeah.
This is not the week for. I mean, you probably they're still talking about Dalvin Cook on a pitch count, and I think that's what happens. That's why I think Luke, you previewed us earlier before one of your things is going to be, we probably won't see that much of Dalvin Cook this game because he's still coming back from the hamstring. And why do it in a game when you're going against the toughest rush defense, and they've got some issues in the secondary with some injuries back there that there's something for this good passing offense to exploit. So, I don't think it's going to happen this week. I guess.
Before we dive into the Eagles game completely, I just we didn't get a chance to talk about this. This is sort of old news too, but Everson Griffin released a statement. We can just, get right past that. It sounds like he's not coming back for a very long time. He thanked everybody. One thing that stood out to me there was just that he said this has been going on for him for a long time. So it seemed like something that, he's been struggling with. I just was wondering, I've seen some things out there. The Vikings signed, I think, Jonathan Wynn to the practice squad. They have been trying out different guys. I just wanted to ask you guys if you are just surprised maybe that they didn't call Brian Robeson to come back for a couple weeks, or maybe why they didn't.
He's washed. Maybe he's old. I don't know. He's like 35.
Him and Zimmer could go fishing this offseason.
They could still
why they think, or else there's some bitterness there. It seems like a no-brainer that you give him a call and say, hey, in the meantime, they don't want him as a starter. They got Weatherly to start, and they got Brian Robinson to be as a backup. I think he's good enough to do that. So I think it's weird that they haven't reached out to him. If they haven't, we don't even know.
Yeah, that's true.
It might be that Weatherly and Bauer have been playing reasonably.
Yes, but if you're signing other guys,
yeah.
I
have him as a third down guy. I don't know. Bring back that leadership to a defense that might need it. It makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they might have speed data that's very telling on him from the preseason. They have the chips in their shoulder pads, and they can tell how fast everybody's running. I think they might have known that his time was up.
Do you think a time will come where
they have chips in their shoulder?
Yeah, that's a whole thing. That forget his name, but the director of analytics did a podcast with one of the analytics kind of host types, and they have the next gen stats that tells you how fast everybody run.
Yeah,
the Vikings have that in practice, which is how they were able to tell that Terrence Newman was slowing down at the end of last year. And you actually will notice that his snap count kind of out of nowhere started dropping. And that's because they realized that he was slowing down, and so
I didn't need to have a chip to see that,
but so they can actually track how fast these guys are going, and how they can actually kind of see when somebody's slowing down. They can see if somebody's healthy or not, as if they can if they can go at full speed or not, and stuff like that. So they've got that.
That was the video I referenced a while back, where the Vikings had two of the top 5 fastest players or plays from last season. With Diggs was one of them. He got up to 24 miles per hour, and another one was, I want to say Trey Waynes, but it wasn't, because I would have never let that go with you guys. It was somebody though. So yeah,
I think it was the Thielen Rams touchdown.
It might have been.
He got cooking on that one.
Man, if they had a chip in my shoulder, that caused me to have a chip on my shoulder.
Well, they're not pinning these guys down and implanting them in them.
I know it was.
But I know, but that seems.
Yeah,
it would be the future, since. Yeah. With the Eagles game, clearly it's a team we're familiar with. The Vikings have a history of shit kicking the team that broke their hopes and dreams the season after that happened. This kind of feels a little bit different from that. We didn't have a chance to see Carson Wentz last year, though, so that makes the team seem a little scarier, despite the fact that they haven't been as dominant as they were last season either. I guess I'll kick it to whichever one of you wants to maybe talk about Wentz a little bit.
He good.
Yeah. Let's move on.
That's basically what Zimmer said. Yeah, he's good. He's got a strong arm. Throws well. Moves well. He's good. That's basically what he said.
Yeah. He came out of the draft as a very raw player. Kind of Patrick Mahomes type narrative, where it's but can he put the tools together because he only has NDSU experience, and then he kind of had a shaky rookie year, and then he figured it out his sophomore year. That's why he got MVP consideration. The injury seems to be well in the rearview mirror, and he's just good at this. And
the other problem is that I heard Seth Kaplan, I believe, talking about him today on the radio, that says that he's been getting hit a lot, and they're concerned about, he's moving well in the pocket, but he's got hit 14 times, and I don't know if that's in both games or just in the last one, but because he is pretty active back there. And
got 10 quarterback hits total.
I said 14 on the air, but maybe that.
Did he get it? He got hurt on a rushing touchdown, didn't he, against the Rams?
Oh wait, no, I'm stupid. Sorry, that was just hits, not sacks. You're good. We're good. Ignore me.
Okay. And yes, that was how.
And then he came back, but
yeah, he played the next down, and then I think the 2-point conversion, which was failed.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's pretty badass, though.
No, he is. He's a tough dude. He's South Dakota, or India. India, North Dakota. They're tough up there.
He's a big. He's how big is he? Do you guys know offhand? He's a big dude too.
He's a big dude, yeah. Andrew Luck, Cam Newton size, but he can run. So he's hard to bring down. He actually has the best pass blocking grade on the team, which is saying something, because there's a lot of good linemen with pass blocking grades. Oh wait, no, never mind. Sorry, just the best overall grade on the team. But he does I think he's pretty good at preventing pressure from turning into worse than pressure, which is a pretty important skill, as we learned very, very excitingly last year. But they still have the same offensive line that just stonewalled us in the NFC Championship, except it's healthier.
You made a good point, Joe. Big guy, if he does get hit, if they hit him, it's probably not going to affect him that much. You know, it's kind of like
Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they had Alshon Jeffrey back, who had this like coming out party, even though they didn't pull the Titans game out. He looked amazing.
Didn't practice.
The guy he was last year.
Didn't practice, so he's still hurting. But yeah, he had a great game, and I didn't play him, so it's a little bitter. But that's okay.
Let's put a 5'10" slot corner on him. That worked out well last time.
So what do you think they have to do? Do you foresee them blitzing then against this offense, since they stonewalled us last year, or
maybe with 10 days to like kind of figure their crap out, maybe they start blitzing again. But I don't know. They've been very, very shy about it so far this year. I would love to see them blitz Barr a lot. I think Barr's better on the pass rush.
I've heard that out there too.
Amazing coverage. Well, he's been a great pass rusher when he's been rushed. They just haven't done it enough.
Right.
So I would do that. I would send all the pressure in the world on him, because right now you've got, especially with like Trey Waynes as a concussion. I don't know if he's going to go. I would totally blitz him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Send it.
Yeah, Waynes has been injured in 3 of the 4 games that they've played, and a different injury each time. Ankle, knee, now it's concussion.
Yeah, everyone's hurt. Send the boys.
Yeah, what do you got to lose, I guess?
Secondary. I mean, it's a very good wide receiving core. And Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, too. Because, we're okay against tight ends.
I thought you guys were going to...
bad, y'all.
I thought you guys were going to... I honestly thought you guys were going to cheer me up. I'm not lying.
I tried!
I know.
Lower your expectations, folks. This is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
It's not. No, it's not. Go read my preview. It's all there. Luke, you can say that all you want. It's all in the preview.
I would love to be wrong.
So, I was really busy with like a lot of business-related stuff this off-season, so I didn't write as much as I used to, or hardly at all. So I've been back. I feel maybe I'm a little rusty, but my last 2 articles have been super hyperbolic. One was... And the titles are misleading, I get that, and I don't mean that intentionally, and I'm not a clickbaity guy by nature. But one was... Not that the Rams game was a must-win, but that they had to put up a good showing. Because I thought they would lose, but if they showed up, especially on defense, I'd feel fine. I'm 50-50 on that. And I put that in the agenda too about this game. Like, what do you need to see maybe to feel like morally, like a moral victory from this game? The schedule gods hate us. They always have, it seems like. Back-to-back games against arguably the 2 best teams in the NFC at their stadium. I know a lot of people are harping on that, and that sucks. But, I mean,
what's going on there?
I mean, would you be?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, would you be okay with the game being similar to the Rams game, like an offensive shootout that we just end up?
I have to see them the defense put up a fight here. They got crushed by Doug Peterson last time they played him. They got crushed last week. I need to see them figure it out and show that they can, kind of lick their wounds, bounce back. If they put up 40 on us, it's like then you're reaching like dire territory. You're reaching desperation. Where what in God's name can we change about this defense to make it work? Because you can't. This can't be a shootout. If it's a close game and it's 17-21 and we end up losing, and that's okay. Like 17-20 and we lose because we got another strip sack on the last drive. Like, I will accept that, but I need to see this defense show a dang sign of life.
For crying out loud, the Eagles are 2-2. Is Mike Zimmer the only defense Doug Peterson can figure out?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is that what you're saying? Because I think it's going to be a very hard-fought slugfest, and there's going to be points scored by both teams, and I think it's going to be a very close game. I don't think you're going to see what happened the last game, and Doug Peterson's his team's had troubles.
Josh Allen figured out Mike Zimmer though, so I don't have a lot of faith.
Who did?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, well.
Hey,
That was.
I am feeling better about my article, at least.
No, I do think the defense will figure it out. I don't know if they figure it out this week because it's a really tough matchup on the road. But
And
yeah, I need to see them show us signs of life. Even if they don't win or pull it out, I need to see them show signs of life.
I predicted 2 weeks ago that they'd go 1-1 and they would get the win this week, and I thought they would get the loss in LA because I think they're a better team, and they proved to be a very, very good team. And the Vikings played them tough. Like, who knows? They had the ball in their hands the last drive. The offensive line let somebody reach through and strip sack Cousins, but they looked like they were out of the game. But they kept fighting back, and I think after 10 days they're going to be pissed off and go out there and they're going to play them tough. It's going to be a very good game, and it won't be a moral victory. They got their moral victory last week when they almost won that game. So
they gave up 600 yards on defense.
I mentioned that they're 2-2. Eagles media is actually kind of in a similar state that we are, coming off a really heartbreaking Titans loss. Like, Eagles media is really worried. They're like, what's going on? What's wrong? They're having a lot of troubles in the secondary, which means actually Dixie Thielen might be good fantasy starts this week.
Absolutely.
Well, I told my dad, because we go for a ride once or twice a week. As I was going through the emails about how I should not quit my day job / continue living, I said, if this was East Coast media, I would be late on this story. And so we'll take that. My only fear with this game is if we do have a lead, the lack of a run game on the road makes it hard to, have to keep throwing to move the chains and keep the clock going. It just doesn't seem like they have the components for like a bloody NFC North type black and blue win without the run game. But Cousins has been great, so maybe they can do that.
They're 12 of 16. They're 12 of 16 throwing on third down, so maybe they can.
Yeah, I mean, I would like for them not to have to eventually, and maybe they will, but we'll find out. I think I saw in the chat before that the points game is a nail biter.
Yeah, you want to dive into that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I was wrong last week. I think. Or was it the week before?
You lost the Rams game by a point. You guys both were within a point of each other in your prediction. We didn't do the show. But to recap, you both predicted understandably blowouts against the Bills, which did not happen. But Oberle lost 8 points and lost 8 points of his lead on that because he predicted a greater blowout. It bit him in the butt.
Yeah.
And then the Rams game, you were very similar in your prediction. So right now, there's a 3-point difference between the two of you.
Wow.
Oberle has a 3-point lead.
Wow. Talk about moral victories. I'm elated.
Enjoy that.
Yee-wee!
Yeah, a lot's going to come down to these next few weeks.
I'm doing a jig. This game is going to be huge because I do not cheat.
Perform in the clutch.
I do not cheat.
2-minute drill before halftime.
I do not cheat and predict or read Joe's score beforehand. That's my way of explaining away being too lazy, maybe, to read the article. But if we're getting into that before we do the over/under, I will go and say the Vikings are going to lose, and they're going to lose by 34-20.
Wow.
I was thinking about 7.
Defense laying an egg again, huh?
Yeah, I can't do that, go from talking about Zimmer getting fired to all of a sudden thinking the team's going to win on their own.
Commit to the brain. That's admirable.
Yes, it is. That's consistent anyway.
Yeah, I'll be consistent. At least I'm consistent.
I got him 24-23 in a rock Vikings. That's right, baby.
I hope you're right.
I do too. So, I'm not going to lie. It would be devastating for this 3-point spread that we have, but I want to watch highlights again, damn it. I miss them.
You could still watch highlights. Kirk Cousins made a lot of good plays, man.
Okay. It was fun. It was a fun game to watch.
It was, and we said the similar thing about the Green Bay game. That was an objectively entertaining game. They're if my emotional state wasn't so tied to the team, might have to get bumped up in those. Well, I forget what they call it when Fox switches a team in and out, flex schedule or whatever. So what were the over-unders for this week, and what were they last week?
All right, so here's the thing about over unders. We didn't obviously do it for the Rams game because it was a short week. We didn't get a show off. So we actually have to go back to the Bills game for what people entered there. We got like 60 entries, which was amazing. I was super happy for all of it. Unfortunately, all of them picked the Vikings. So only one person picked the Bills. His @ is ND6673778.
And he's from the future, apparently.
He looks like a North Dakota fan. He picked the over on Kyle Rudolph for 4.5 catches, 50.5 yards. He picked the under on Rudolph. Rudolph had 5 catches, which would have made him wrong, but 48 yards, which made him right by 2 yards, and he picked the Bills win.
So if you just get one of those right, you get it right?
No, you have to get them all right. But I feel bad because...
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, what am I talking about? He did get it, yeah. So nobody wins a gnome, because nobody was right.
But he did pick... maybe if he hears this and wants to DM us, I'll send him one just because he picked the Bills?
Yeah, he deserves it for that.
That is a legendary call. I got the date on the tweet and everything.
Yeah, unless he's like the one Bills fan in North Dakota. I don't... I had a roommate in college that was obsessed with the Bills for whatever reason.
NDSU players over there? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I'm thinking he's probably from the future, and if I give him a gnome, he'll give me the Powerball numbers for next week. So it's win-win.
So we skipped the Rams game, which is probably for the best, because every single person, all like 60 entries, got it wrong. So we all get to lick our wounds and come back for a bounce back game here against the Eagles. So here's what we're looking at. The first option is Latavius Murray, 38 all-purpose yards, over under, and it's a push. If it's a push, you get it right.
All-purpose. Wow.
Oh, that makes it hard.
Yeah. So if he gets exactly 38, both the overs and the unders are right. So I'll give you credit if you got a push.
You're not messing around this week, Luke.
So Latavius Murray, 38 all-purpose. And you got to think how much is he going to play? How much is Smith going to play? The second one is Aldrick Robertson. 2 targets, over under 2 targets.
Which means 2 touchdowns for that dude.
Pretty much.
Right? Although apparently he got a touchdown on a play where he was not targeted. Did you hear about this? His second touchdown was supposed to be a throw to Rudolph, but it was kind of a weird, sailed off the ball throw. The way the defenders were positioned, Kirk Cousins overthrew it a little bit, and Aldrick Robertson, I believe, ran the wrong route, but happened to be in the right place and caught a touchdown.
Wow!
And that is from Kirk Cousins told that story, so that is hilarious. But yeah, 2 targets for him. Curious to see if he gets the same run he got in the Los Angeles game after his 2 touchdown performance. And the third one is Diggs, 7 catches. So Murray, 38 all-purpose. Aldrick Robertson, 2 targets. Diggs, 7 catches.
Who goes first?
I picked the over on Rudolph. That's why I was bitter when the guy was almost going to win with only getting one, because I had the catches right, but I didn't have the yardage right. He just came up short, right?
Yeah, he made it so everyone was wrong because he was over on one and under on the other. Yeah,
and I was wrong about Treadwell. I think Treadwell got more. I think it was 2 looks or attempts, and I think he had 4 maybe if I'm counting.
He got a bunch of targets. I had the Danielle Hunter over, and I have no idea, but we all picked the Vikings win, so we were all wrong anyways.
All right.
And I was right the week before, so that probably means that is like a push. So Joe, you should go first again.
Again?
Since we were all wrong, yeah.
I will take 7 catches for Diggs. I'll take
I'm screwed. That's the one I wanted. I will take. What was the other one? I latched onto that one so hard. The Aldrick Robinson one. I'll take
2 targets.
I'll take the over on 2 targets.
That's what that was my other one. Yeah, the first one I didn't know.
You're taking over catches, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And I am too.
Oh God, you gave me the hard one that I came up with just so I could make a 38-7 joke. I've been had.
Talk about Luke.
I don't think anybody can run, especially not Murray. I'm taking under in a loss. I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad and I hate this team. Go Chiefs.
Hey, Steve, and one more question: will we get more people from the audience to join in this week?
That's a good
I hope
question.
so. I'll tweet it out. I hope people are into it again.
We always seem to lose an audience when the team is doing poorly, but things have been bouncing back. I think the Bills game, people were in shock, but after the Rams numbers are consistent, so I think we should be close.
So the over-under is 60 then.
Yeah. So if you're listening, tweet us if you haven't done it before. We don't need as many. As long as we just get more engagement, we can get over 60. We try to beat that number every week. That would be really cool. As we say every week, that's like the coolest thing ever, that we have that many people not only listening but participating. And so get your name out there, because we got gnomes coming to everybody. But yeah, listen to Morning Joe's. We'll be back on Friday morning. It won't just be me, thank God. It was a waking nightmare. Other than that, keep an eye on both sites, because we had all sorts of cool content. Purple Territory Radio, I made a page for it. It doesn't look the way I wanted to, but it gets the job done. There's a lot. We have about 6 shows going right now, if you're looking for content, both live and podcast. So that's pretty cool. And I also, if you want to stop by and hang out with us on Sunday, we do a live chat with a whole bunch of the writers, and it's super fun. So you can stop by there. But this has been the Purple Journal podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.